Well, hello friends. I hope you had a really nice Thanksgiving weekend. It's Sunday afternoon. I had a great weekend. I had, in case you don't know, I'm single. And so I was invited to somebody's house. Most years I'm invited to somebody's house and I just have a really nice time and great food. It's a bit much to do all that cooking just for yourself. I wouldn't do it. Though I do love turkey, and I have baked turkeys before just for me. I did it this year because I love turkey so much. But if you saw my last video, or not my last one, but a recent one about the goats, they started eating today. They've been just kind of nibbling. I mean, I could tell they didn't feel very good at all. But this morning, their trough was actually out of hay, and I gave them a little more than I normally would give them in the morning. But they haven't really eaten very much this week. And they didn't eat it all, but they ate a lot. So I'm happy. They're clearly on the mend. Clearly getting better. So today I thought I would mainly talk about Mountain Cedar, also known as ash juniper. It's the same exact thing. Mainly, from my understanding, there's two types of junipers or cedar trees in the United States. And over in the Texas Hill Country, we've got mountain cedar. Now, you're not going to find anybody who loves mountain cedar. One of the problems with mountain cedar is, and I'm not seeing it yet, so maybe I'll find a link to another video to show you. But there are male and female trees. The females have produced juniper berries. And a lot of people do use juniper berries for medicinal and culinary uses. In fact, I'm going to be collecting juniper berries today and drying them to trade with somebody who uses them when she makes brisket. But there's a lot of other uses, both medicinal and culinary. I don't remember them all, but I'm going to put some links below and maybe in the iCard to other channels or other places where you can learn if you are interested in the medicinal uses of juniper berries. The two I know real well is Part-Time Permies. They spent a live show talking about juniper berries. I believe it was them. And Merriweather Foraging, Texas. He's just on Facebook, not YouTube. But he's got a ton of information. And he concentrates on Texas, but beyond. And he not just on juniper. If you're into foraging and you're in the South, or even if you're not in the South, there are other areas. Like lately on his live Facebook shows, he's been talking about plants that you would buy at the nursery and would have in your front yard that are edible. So he's a good channel to check out. A lot of good information. But back to mountain cedar. Now, a lot of people don't even know they're edible, don't use them, but some people do. And I've thought about, I need to check it out, learn, experiment. Hey, I've got 20 acres of junipers. It's a free resource, and that's one thing. Whatever you have on your property, I look around and all the stuff that the people who are into foraging talk about, those plants, I usually don't have. So I can get kind of bummed because I don't really have any mushrooms that I could forage for. I don't have hardly any plants, but hey, I've got junipers. Take what you have available to you. Whether you're in the city, learn what you could be planting in your yard that's edible and beautiful. Look at it. Right now, the romaine lettuce, they're telling everybody throw it away. It's contaminated. Well, if you had the right plants in your yard and you were adventurous, you could still have salad. Maybe even a better salad than romaine. There's a lot of plants out there that are edible. We just have to know which they are and learn. So I really need to get with the program and be brave and try out juniper berries. But There's a downside to mountain cedar or ash juniper, and that's the male trees. They produce an yellowish orange pollen, and it honestly, I've heard it takes a freeze to make it pollinate. I have heard it is the worst pollinator in winter, and it's the only tree on the planet, or at least the United States, I can't remember which I've heard, that actually pollinates in the middle of winter. Allergists make a lot of money off of this tree. A lot of people are allergic to cedar. You'll hear the term cedar fever. And basically, the problem that rises is right at the time that cedar is producing all this pollen and the wind is blowing it all over the place and it's going into the cities, San Antonio and Austin and everywhere, where they don't even, I mean, nobody has cedar trees in San Antonio, but pollen goes down there. Well, it causes allergies. A lot of people are allergic to the pollen. And so, so you've got the allergy situation. At the same time, the colds are going around, other viruses are going around. People will get, sinus infections due to the viruses that are going around combined with the cedar pollen making people allergic. And so people just, for the months that it's available, usually sometime in November, December, after some good freezes, it starts pollinating. I haven't noticed my trees, any pollen blowing off my trees yet, but there are times I do. To about Valentine's Day. Usually by Valentine's Day it's cleared up. I can remember one year it wasn't. And it also started pollinating late that year. But usually it is finished pollinating and people stop, blowing their nose all 24/7. So people don't like cedar for that reason. Another problem with mountain cedar, ash juniper, is they're water hoggers. This tree it hogs water. Here's a nice cedar tree. In fact, I am surrounded by cedar trees, and every one of these trees is hogging a ton of water. Every single one of them. They're guzzlers. And this is a dry part of the state. We don't normally get very much rain. But we do get some rain, and we want it to grow the grass. We want it to grow food for our livestock. Now, goats will eat cedar, and there is some evidence that it may help with parasites. I actually cut down some cedar branches and fed them to my sick goats because I saw them at the back of the fence line, and I thought maybe they're trying to reach the cedar on the other side of the fence and eat that. And they did eat some of they were eating the cedar. I haven't checked today to see if they cleaned it all up. But goats, well, when I let them loose, one of the first things, if it's acorn season, they'll go to the acorns. But if there's no acorns, they head to the cedar and they start eating the cedar. And if you have cedar trees in your pasture, the goats will kill them. They'll strip the bark, they'll eat them. What actual nutrients, vitamins, minerals, I don't know. There's got to be some, but I don't know what they are. Definitely cedar's fiber, and I'm sure there's some nutrients in there, and of course there's the berries. One thing I found interesting is when I had goats that were not full-blooded Nubians, their milk tended to taste like cedar after a couple days. At first it didn't, but within a couple days it started having a slight cedar taste. I never got that with the Nubians. Never. Their milk stays sweet. Their milk tastes delicious. And I went on a goat group here locally in the hill country, and I asked, and a lot of people who had alpines and other breeds reported that yeah, the milk will taste like cedar. If they allow their goats to eat cedar, they notice that the milk tends to taste like cedar. With the Nubian owners, didn't have the problem. So I find it kind of interesting. I don't know what the deal is, but that's one reason why I'm sticking to Nubians. As you can see, I got a lot of cedar, and I want my goats to be able to eat the cedar. I don't want to have to keep them confined in areas with no cedar so the milk doesn't get tainted. So that's one reason. And the goats I did have that the milk kept getting tainted with cedar. Actually, I had some other issues with them, and I sold them. And I made sure to sell them to people who did not live where there was cedar trees. Because of that. But, so, that's a little bit about cedar. Goats eat it, and it may have the needles and stuff may have benefits for parasite prevention. Obviously, I still get parasites, so it's not foolproof. It'd be nice if I could just feed them cedar and they would never have parasites, but that has never happened. The berries have medicinal and culinary uses, and I will provide links. And they're water hogs, and they may give people allergies. But I just cut down all these branches off of this tree. Now, if there's even one little branch still with some needles on it, that's enough for a cedar tree to keep living. I mean, these things it takes a lot to kill a cedar tree. And the lower branches do have a little bit of cedar. And of course, the big branches, I still have a lot more I can cut off this tree. Sadly, my chainsaw died. Actually, I had two chainsaws. Both of them died. One was actually too big for me to use safely. So I don't have a chainsaw, and I really don't have the cash flow to go out and buy a chainsaw. So and I've shown you in other videos, use one of these saws. That works best for me. If I had a chainsaw, I'd be cutting all these branches down low. And I'd get rid of this tree super fast. And in fact, I want to cut down all these trees that are around here and try to plant fruit and nut-bearing trees in this area, and blueberries and raspberries and things like that. But I'm still making progress. I'm going to go haul all this to some happy goats, the ones that aren't sick, because I haven't given them any cedar in a while. I'm going to feed them these, and they'll be really happy.